Hey, what's going on, guys? This Saturday is UFC Fight Night Vegas 82, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig, and this is going to be my full card predictions. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you a quick breakdown and prediction. Starting off with the first fight of the night, Lucas Alexander versus Jeka Saragih. Alexander was supposed to fight on UFC Brazil a couple weeks ago against David Onama. Onama pulled out. They rescheduled Alexander a couple weeks later against Saragih, so Saragih's kind of taking this on short notice. We don't know if he was really in camp or not. You have Saragih coming off a loss to Anshul Jubilee where he got TKO'd. That hasn't aged quite well considering Jubilee lost, to Mike Breeden just recently. And Jeka Saragih's a guy who came off a road to the UFC, got a couple crazy KOs, and it just seems like he's always chasing after a flashy KO. And I think Lucas Alexander's a little bit more polished on the feet. He lost his UFC debut on short notice against Joanderson Brito, which talk about a tough matchup in your UFC debut. But I think Lucas Alexander just a little bit more polished on the feet. I think this is going to be a striking matchup. I think Saragih's going to be looking for that KO shot. And I think Alexander is just going to be the bigger guy, naturally bigger guy. But then also he has a 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. So I'm going to go Lucas Alexander. He doesn't have the craziest power. Plus Saragih has a decent chin. I'm going to go Lucas Alexander via decision. I think he gets it done, outstriking him. I think he avoids the big shots. Lucas Alexander may even mix in the grappling himself. But Saragih just wants to go out there and throw these crazy shots, spinning back elbows, and these crazy techniques and looking for a KO. I think Lucas Alexander will beat him. He's on a full camp, basically. He was preparing to fight a couple weeks ago. Saragih's just accepting this on short notice. I have to go Lucas Alexander. I'm going to pick him via decision. Moving up on the card, we have Charles Johnson versus Rafael Estevam. Rafael Estevam coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. A grappler, takes guys down, beats them up. Charles Johnson, what's his history? He loses to grapplers primarily. He lost his last two fights, got out-grappled by Cody Durden in his last fight, and then the fight before that, Ode Osborne lost there. That was actually a close fight. Beat Jimmy Flick, okay, beat Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who were okay grapplers, but then before that, lost to Muhammad Makayev. I think Rafael Estevam, he's 11-0, he's undefeated, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good grappler, and Charles Johnson has like this funky striking style, and he stays safe on the ground where he avoids submissions, but he just gets taken down. He can be controlled up against the fence. So I'm going Rafael Estevam. I'm going to pick him via decision. I just think, you look at the matchup for Charles Johnson. He just hasn't evolved. He's never changed. He has the same dumb mullet haircut that's like hanging on the back of his neck. It's not even a mullet. That's an insult to a mullet. He just had stylistically, he hasn't evolved ever. He's like the same guy we've seen for the last few years. So I think Estevam goes out there, out-grapples him. I'm going to say Estevam 30-27 decision. Moving up on the card, we have Chad Anheliger versus Jose Johnson. Chad Anheliger coming off that loss to Anheliger. Jose Johnson coming off the loss to Damon Blackshear on short notice. Honestly, looking at this fight, Chad Anheliger is 36 years old, almost 37. You have Jose Johnson, who's 28 years old, lost to Damon Blackshear via twister, but looked decent, and he took that fight on short notice, looked decent on the feet up until that point. Chad Anheliger doesn't really mix in grappling. He likes to strike. He has a massive reach disadvantage. We're looking at a 7.5-inch reach advantage for Jose Johnson, and also a 6-inch height advantage for Jose Johnson. So I see this being a striking matchup, and honestly, I could even see Johnson mixing in the grappling, and I think he would have some success against Anheliger. We've seen him be taken down and controlled a little bit in the past. So I don't know how Anheliger gets this done. He's a gritty guy. He's a durable guy, but he's getting up there in age. He lost his last fight against Ailin, took a lot of damage in that fight as well. Nothing crazy, but I'm going Jose Johnson. I think Jose Johnson gets it done. Second round TKO. I think Chad Anheliger is just going to go out there, look to be prideful, look to strike. I think he's too old. I think he's too slow for Jose Johnson. And I think Jose Johnson clips him with a nasty shot, hurts him badly, falls him to the ground, finishes him off with ground and pound. Moving up on the card, we have Jonathan Pearce versus Joanderson Brito. This is a straight up banger. This card is not very good. This is a fight you should watch. Jonathan Pearce versus Joanderson Brito. Joanderson Brito is a straight-up savage. A straight-up savage. You look at his recent fights, or you look at his overall record, 13 of his 15 wins are via finish. He's a savage. He has nasty power, nasty submission skills as well. His last fight went out there, destroyed Weston Wilson, but he didn't belong in there. Fight before that, destroyed Lucas Alexander, didn't really belong in there short notice. So his last two fights have been short notice opponents. Fight before that, beat Andre Fili. That's a solid win. And his only loss was 2 years ago against Bill Algeo, which has aged quite well. Jonathan Pearce, been inactive for a bit, hasn't fought in about 11 months. Last win was against Darren Elkins. Jonathan Pearce has good striking, has good grappling, very durable, gritty guy. But I think Joanderson Brito is just too much. He's too powerful. He's too strong in the grappling. I think he can take, Jonathan Pearce down. I think he can control him. We've seen that before. I think in the Elkins fight, Elkins got a couple takedowns. Pearce scrambled out of him. But I think Joanderson Brito's power, I think his jiu-jitsu, I think his takedowns are really good. So I'm going Brito. Honestly, I could see Jonathan Pearce like winning this fight by winning like the back half of the second round and the third round, because I could see Brito gassing. But I'm going to go Joanderson Brito first round submission. I think he gets him down early. I think he uses all his energy to ragdoll Jonathan Pearce. And I think he finds like a rear naked choke. So I'm going to go Joanderson Brito first round rear naked choke. Moving up on the card, we have Mick Parkin versus Caio Machado. Two horrible heavyweights. Mick Parkin 7-0, undefeated, beat Jamal Pogues in his last fight, ugly fight. Come off Dana White's Contender Series, was losing his fight. The guy ended up gassing, and Parkin ended up getting a rear naked choke. He's decently well-rounded. Caio Machado looks like he should probably be down at light heavyweight. Coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, kind of a wild, crazy striker, but has some jiu-jitsu as well, but I don't think he's going to have the grappling to take down Mick Parkin. And I think Mick Parkin will kind of just walk him down, throwing volume, landing some good shots. And I'm going Mick Parkin via decision because Mick Parkin doesn't have any power at all, it doesn't seem. But I could see Caio Machado getting tired, maybe throwing wild winging shots early, getting tired, and then maybe getting finished with the volume of Mick Parkin. But honestly, I'm not looking forward to this fight at all, and I think it's a super low-level heavyweight fight. But I'm going to go Mick Parkin, maybe like a 29-28 decision. Maybe Machado lands a big shot in the first round, steals the first round, but that's it. Moving up on the card, we have Lucie Pudilová versus Ailin Perez. This is another fight that's not really good, to be quite honest, but you have two women, in the bantamweight division, or in the flyweight division, actually. I'm mistaken here. No, it's in the bantamweight division. This is a bantamweight fight. I just think Ailin Perez, she's coming off a win over Ashley Evans-Smith, who's literally a bum, was out for like 4 years. And I even thought Ashley Evans-Smith might win. Before that, she lost to Stephanie Egger, got submitted. When I look at this fight, I see two grapplers, both want to grapple. You look at Pudilová, grappled Jocelyn Edwards in her last fight. Arguably could have lost that fight. Has no striking. And I think Ailin Perez is just more physically imposing. And I think she's the better striker as well. And she has more power. So I'm going to go Perez to stuff the takedowns, maybe even get top position a couple times, and probably outstrike Lucie Pudilová. So I'm going to go Ailin Perez by, I'm going to say 29-28 decision. Moving up on the card, we have Nikolas Motta versus Trey Ogden. Nikolas Motta has looked good in some fights, but then he ends up getting finished. His last fight, he was looking decent against Manel Torres. Eats the nastiest elbow I've ever seen, gets brutally KO'd. Before that, KO's Cameron Van Camp. Before that, loses to Jim Miller via KO. Was looking decent in that fight. Trey Ogden, same thing. These are like two inconsistent lightweights. Trey Ogden didn't look great against Ignacio Bahamondes. Just couldn't pull the trigger. Fight before that, beats Daniel Zellhuber, who's kind of an interesting prospect. Before that, loses to Jordan Leavitt via split decision. When I look at this fight, I see two guys who are decently well-rounded. But I think Nikolas Motta is just better on the feet, has more power. I do worry about him getting chinned. I do worry about him potentially getting out-grappled by Ogden. Ogden does have a lot of submissions on his record. He has 11 wins via submission out of 16 wins. But Trey Ogden's 34 years old. He's getting up there in age. I think he's slowing down. I think the Daniel Zellhuber win is kind of like Daniel Zellhuber didn't show up. So I'm going to go Nikolas Motta not to get chinned in this fight. And I'm going to say he gets the finish here. I'm going to say Nikolas Motta, second round TKO. I just think he has the better striking. He looks like he has good defensive striking, but somehow he always gets clipped. He has his hands up nice and tight, but he finds a way to just get clipped on the chin and finish. So I could see this fight going either way. I'm not super confident in this pick, but I think Nikolas Motta, just more athletic, faster, better striking, and I think he'll be able to fend off takedowns from Trey Ogden. So I'm going Nikolas Motta, second round TKO. Moving up on the card to the first fight on the main card, we have Uros Mektic versus Jonny Parsons. This actually is a low-key good fight as well. Jonny Parsons, a savage, goes out there, fights to put on a show. Beat Danny Roberts in his last fight. It was a crazy fight. They went absolute to war. And Uros Mektic, same thing in his last fight against Matthew Semmelsberger. Matthew Semmelsberger hurt him multiple times, but kept following him to the ground and wouldn't find a finish. And then Mektic was arguably losing and gets a finish in the third round with a spinning back fist. But before that, super inactive. I mean, you're looking 3 fights in the last 2 years. And you're looking at, it's just he's not been very active. Before Matthew Semmelsberger, which was 3 months ago, fight before that was a year and a half before that. So you look at this matchup, I think this is a really good fight. But what I think this comes down to is I just think Uros Mektic is a little bit more technical. I think he's a lot more technical, actually, than Parsons. And Parsons like this wild striker who likes to just blast body kicks and blast leg kicks. And his hands aren't very technical. He throws looping shots. And I think Mektic, with his footwork, with his technical ability, with his straight shots, I think he probably gets it done. Also, I think Johnny Parsons kind of small for the weight class. He looks small. So I don't think, I think Mektic will have a size advantage. So I don't think Parsons is going to go out there and out-grapple him, which we've seen Mektic taken down and control before, but it's not like he has horrible grappling. So I'm going to go Uros Mektic via decision, but if Johnny Parsons gets it done, I think he gets it done via KO. We've seen Mektic hurt so many times in his last fight against Matthew Semelsberger, but I'm going to go Mektic. I'm going to say he gets it done via decision. I think it'll be a mildly competitive fight, but I just seen Parsons clipped up a little bit too much by Danny Roberts, and Danny Roberts isn't that good. So I'm going to go Mektic via decision. I think he gets it done outstriking him. Moving up on the card, we have Amanda Ribas versus Luana Pinheiro, or Pinheiro. I don't even know how you pronounce her last name. But this is a tough fight to pick because you have Pinheiro, who's 11-1, has a win over Michelle Waterson-Gomez, could have arguably lost that fight. A lot of punching at air that fight. You have Ribas coming off a loss against Macy Barber. I'm gonna go Pinheiro via decision, I think. But this is a tough fight to pick. I just think Pinheiro has a little bit better striking. I think her grappling and her judo, she has good hip tosses. I think she'll be able to fend off takedowns from Ribas. Ribas likes to take you down, looks to use the jiu-jitsu. And in the last fight, I don't think Macy Barber's that good. And Macy Barber destroyed her. And I picked Ribas in that fight. So maybe I'm just kind of overcompensating for my last pick. I don't think Luana Pinheiro looked that good against Michelle Waterson. But Michelle Waterson, even though I don't think she's that good, I think she's a little bit of a step up from Ribas, to be quite honest. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But Ribas was getting clipped up on the feet by Macy Barber. Pinheiro has wild winging shots and has decent power as well. So I'm going to go Luana Pinheiro to get it done via decision. I think it's going to be one of those ugly fights. It's going to be a close fight. And I'm going to say Pinheiro gets it done 29-28. Moving up on the card, we have Payton Talbott versus Nick Aguirre. And Payton Talbott's coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. They're setting him up for a win here against Nick Aguirre. Payton Talbott just likes to walk you down, throw volume, throw combinations. His defense isn't that great, but they're putting him against Nick Aguirre, who lost his last fight against Dan Argueta, got out-grappled there. Doesn't have the best striking, but he likes to strike. So a guy who's going to beat Talbott is going to be a guy who goes out there, grapples nonstop, holds him down and controls him, or has nasty power on the feet, and Nick Aguirre doesn't have any of that. So I think Payton Talbott is going to go out there, walk him down, beat him up, and I'm going to go Payton Talbott to get a second-round TKO. I just think he's going to be the superior striker. I think Nick Aguirre, when he was getting backed up by Dan Argueta, he really didn't have an answer for it. And I think Talbott's going to back him up, land good shots. I think he's going to hurt him badly in the second round and finish him off. Moving up on the card, we have Jordan Leavitt versus Chase Hooper. This is a difficult fight to pick. This is a very difficult fight to pick because Chase Hooper looked good in his last fight against Nick Fiore. Got a decision win there. Lots of scrambles, hurt Fiore multiple times, but was getting held down quite a bit as well. And I feel like if Nick Fiore was a little bit better with his top game and his jiu-jitsu, I think he probably would have dominated Chase Hooper. And Jordan Leavitt has decent wrestling and has this weird finishing ability where he doesn't look particularly powerful with any one strike, but he finds it with a slam or finds it with his knees in the clinch. And Chase Hooper gets hit so much. He gets hit so much. And I just think Jordan Leavitt gets it done. I'm going to pick Jordan Leavitt to win. I could see him winning by decision, just out-grappling Chase Hooper for the entire fight, controlling him with top position. But I also see Leavitt just finding a finish here. Chase Hooper's like leaning into shots. I think both these guys are undersized for lightweight. And Chase Hooper's 24 years old. He looks like he's 15. Got absolutely murked by Steve Garcia. The wins he's gotten haven't been that great. Lost to Steve Peterson. And I think Jordan Leavitt, I know he's lost to Paddy Pimblett, got submitted there, but had a decent showing. Lost to Claudio Puelles. But I have to go Jordan Leavitt here, but I could see this fight going either way. But I think Jordan Leavitt gets it done. And I'm going to say Jordan Leavitt brutally chins Chase Hooper. I think it's going to be another brutal loss. I think Jordan Leavitt will find knees in the clinch or find a big right hand or find something on the feet when Chase Hooper's just kind of striking like Juliana Miller. Like it looks like Chase Hooper went to the same school of striking that Juliana Miller and Juliana Pena went to. He's getting better. He's evolving. He has good scrambles out from the bottom, but I think Jordan Leavitt's going to be a better wrestler. I think he'll be able to get top control. I think he'll control him there, and I think he'll find a good shot that'll hurt Chase Hooper on the feet as well. So I can see Jordan Leavitt getting it done via decision or KO, but I'm going to go Jordan Leavitt, second round TKO. But don't be surprised if Leavitt just wins it with his grappling the entire fight, because I can see him taking him down and being able to hold him there. Moving up on the card, we have Jake Matthews versus Michael Morales. This is the co-main event. I mean, how is this the co-main event, guys? But honestly, I have to go Michael Morales. I think he gets it done here. Jake Matthews, there's times where he's looked really good. There's other times he's looked horrible. His last fight against Darius Flowers, I think Flowers took it on short notice, if I'm not mistaken. Landed some good shots in that fight, but gassed out. Fight before that, lost to Matthew Semmelsberger. Fight before that looked like a straight-up killer against Andre Fialho, but that hasn't aged very well. Like, finished Fialho. Fialho's been finishing like every single fight since then. So you look at Jake Matthews, and I almost said Matthew Semmelsberger. You look at Jake Matthews, he's well-rounded. He has good hands, but he's so inconsistent. Has a win over Diego Sanchez. Honestly, it was a competitive fight, and I know that was 3 years ago, but I feel like Jake Matthews is just hit or miss. I just feel like sometimes he just doesn't show up. And Michael Morales is this contender. He's 15-0. The UFC's kind of building him up as well. He's got 11 KOs out of those 15 wins. So I'm looking at this matchup, and I think Michael Morales, I think he gets it done. I do think he slows down a bit. You know, we've seen him slow down against Max Griffin in his last fight, but I think he has the better hands. I think he has the better boxing. I think he's a little bit bigger, naturally bigger as well. You look at their reach, he has a 7-inch reach advantage, and he has a 2-inch height advantage. So he's younger. I think he's faster. I think he has better boxing. How's he going to get it done? I say Morales gets it done. I'm going to say first round KO. I think he catches Jake Matthews on the chin. I don't trust Jake Matthews anymore. Darius Flowers came dangerously close a couple times. So I'm going to say Michael Morales goes out there. He gets it done with his striking. I think he chins Jake Matthews in the first round. And I think this is coming out performance. Moving up on the card, we have the main event, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. Brendan Allen's turning down fights that are ranked above him. He ends up with Paul Craig, who now I believe is ranked behind him. Paul Craig used to be a light heavyweight. Has some great wins. Has a win over Jamal Hill. Has a win over Magomed Ankalaev. But he's getting up there in age. He's coming off a win over Andre Muniz. You look at Brendan Allen, coming off a win over Bruno Silva. Fight before that, a win over Andre Muniz himself. Submission as well. Or actually, Paul Craig has a TKO win over Muniz. Before that, he lost to Johnny Walker. That's why he moved down. This is a tough fight to pick. Both guys have really good jiu-jitsu, but honestly, I think Brendan Allen's better on the feet. And I think Brendan Allen probably has the better jiu-jitsu as well. At least combined overall grappling game. Maybe not just pure jiu-jitsu, but grappling game. I think he has the better wrestling mixed with his jiu-jitsu. I don't think Paul Craig's going to submit him. I don't think Paul Craig can submit Brendan Allen. I don't think he can submit him off his back, which is where Paul Craig has been able to win a lot of fights. I think Brendan Allen's better on the feet. I think he goes out there. I think he clips up Paul Craig on the feet. And I think Paul Craig, if he catches Brendan Allen with a big head kick and finishes him. We've seen Brendan Allen finish multiple times. Strickland finished him. Chris Curtis finished him. And Paul Craig does have some decent power, but his striking is horrible. Andre Muniz was outstriking him, and Andre Muniz's striking is horrible. Brendan Allen outstruck Muniz, and I know MMA math doesn't necessarily work, but I think you add that all together, I don't see a way Paul Craig wins this fight. I don't think he's going to find that crazy submission unless he hurts Brendan Allen on the feet. And I don't even think Brendan Allen's that good, but I think Brendan Allen's getting better. I think he's evolving. I think his jiu-jitsu's really good. I could even see Brendan Allen potentially submitting Paul Craig, beating him up on the ground and finding a submission. But I'm going to go Brendan Allen, third round TKO. I think he finishes Paul Craig. I think he gets him down. I think Paul Craig's going to start pulling guard because he's losing on the feet. I think Brendan Allen beats him up on the ground and eventually finds a submission. Maybe Paul Craig gives up his back and, ends up getting choked out. But I just think Paul Craig has good enough jiu-jitsu where maybe he can avoid that submission. And I think Brendan Allen's going to kind of look for a couple submissions, fish for a couple submissions, not find them, and then eventually just decide, you know what, I'm going to pound Paul Craig out. Pause. I think Brendan Allen finishes him. I'm going to go Brendan Allen, third round, ground and pound, TKO. We're going to see Paul Craig throw up a couple triangle chokes and arm bars and look for finishes, but I just don't think he's going to get them. Joe Rogan's not going to be there to be saying, oh, he's in real trouble here. I think Brendan Allen's jiu-jitsu is just too good. I think it's too good. I don't think Paul Craig can find that submission, and I think he's outmatched on the feet by Brendan Allen. So I'm going Brendan Allen, third round TKO. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.